So today we're going to be taking a look at the True Catalyst 9X4s against the previous generation, the True Catalyst 9s. Now, you guys, if you saw the video, know that I'm a massive fan of these skates over here. They really did change the game for me, and also my kind of understanding, and also, to be honest, faith in what True Hockey were producing. Now, I mentioned in this video when we looked at the Cat 9s, the last time I looked at True Hockey, it was VH. So it had been a very long time before I got into a pair of True skates again, and I didn't know how far the company had come. Now, while these skates weren't perfect, we had to switch out the tongues. That's one of the things we complained about in the review. But overall, the fit, the thermoforming properties these skates had, the out-the-box fit and performance that we got out of them with their own steel was phenomenal. And I was really shocked. And it's probably one of the pairs of skates that I've been in for the longest period of time compared to some of the other skates that I use, because I tend to switch out quite quickly. Now, it's not saying the other ones are bad. I was just very pleasantly surprised with what the Cat 9s could do. Now, if you like these, what do these do? Aside from straight away looking much more premium. Now, I'm not going to say that the Cat 9s were rushed, because I'm not with True. I don't know what their manufacturing process is like. I've not gone to their factory yet. But I'm not saying that these felt rushed. But when you look at these skates, you look at the design and also how they've degraded and broken down over time, which I will add is quite minimal considering how much I've used them. These new Catalyst 9X4s look phenomenal. What I think they've done over here is created a skate that looks like it's targeted at an elite level player, like a pro spec, something that you would see in the NHL. Whereas these skates over here just didn't have quite that level of, I'm going to say, flair. Now, of course, looking good is one thing, but how do these perform? I'm going to say that the only skate that is even comparable to what these new Catalyst skates feel like on the ice straight out the box before you bake them is going to be the XF Pros. Nothing else that I've used to date comes close to what True has created with the new Catalyst skates. And I'm not hyping it, guys. These are just sick. Everything that was great in the Cat 9s, True have taken that and amplified it with the new Catalyst 9X4s. And I genuinely mean every single thing about the skate. All my complaints are sorted out, except for one, but I'll get into that into the video. The new tongue is phenomenal. This new T-Guard tongue is fantastic. I've got no complaints with how that feels. Now, let's get into what's actually been changed with these two skates. I think the first thing that we're going to notice is the fact that the new 9X4s come with a DLC-coated steel from True, which is a big difference. If you guys know anything about steel, we've done a bunch of videos on them before. DLC is not just a color. That diamond-like coating has numerous performance benefits. It has so many advantages over a regular uncoated steel that it just doesn't make sense if you're going for an elite level skate for it not to have an elite level steel. Now, moving up from there, the holder is exactly the same as what we saw on the previous generation of skates. Nothing's been changed there, aside from the color of the tool that you use to remove the holder. It also comes with a brand new tool that I posted on Instagram, a little clip of me messing around with it, because I think that's sick. Of course, I'll show you what that looks like, but the actual kind of like bolt that you use to pull back to get the blade out is black now, matches the kind of like pro, sleek, expensive looking skate look, as opposed to it being blue on the other skates. I felt like the white, the blue, and the accents of yellow, I didn't mind them. I'm not saying this is the best looking skate on the planet, but this definitely looks premium. It definitely looks elite. It's also definitely worth mentioning that True have also improved the way that they mount the boot to the holder itself. All the rivets, everything like that, it's all been reinforced to essentially ensure that there isn't the possibility of any premature separation between the holder and the boot. Now, when we move into the body of the skate, one thing you'll notice is the new Catalyst skates have this whole NeuroFit Plus thing branded all over them, and the old Cat 9s or the older Catalyst skates didn't have any of that. Of course, it had the fiber shell written on it, which, you know, kind of alludes to the fact that this skate is, in fact, a full carbon fiber one-piece shell. And what you get with the new NeuroFit Plus is a one-piece fully carbon fiber shell, which is, you know, something that a lot of manufacturers out there can't offer. But I think what separates the NeuroFit Plus to what we saw with the Fiber Shield is the fact that the integration of thermoformable plastics inside the weaving of the carbon fiber, or inside the kind of structure of the boot, is insane. The fit that you get out of these skates out the box is fantastic, but when you bake them, it's a completely different ballgame. The entire skate's structure almost becomes like a jelly. It becomes 10 times softer than what it is now, to a point where you can squeeze the entire skate and make the eyelets touch each other after you've baked these skates, which is something that I've not seen from any other boot on the market. But this means that that NeuroFit Plus with that carbon fiber, the full carbon fiber one-piece shell, completely molds and adapts to the shape of your foot. Every single defect, every single bump, everything that you have, this thing completely wraps around and takes to the shape of your foot. Once that sets and then re-hardens, you have a foot that fits you like a pair of sneakers or trainers, as we say in the UK, that you're using on the ice. It really locks your foot in there and you feel connected to the boot. And I'm not saying this is going to make you a better hockey player, but what this will do is provide you with a skate that doesn't hurt you when you're on the ice. Your feet feel comfortable, but most importantly, it being completely connected, every part of your foot being in contact with the boot, no negative space inside there, it means that you're able to move around on the ice much more effectively and much more effortlessly, because you don't feel like your foot is dragging something behind it, it's connected to your foot. And the result of how that allows you to move around on the ice is massive. I'm not saying this is gonna make you a better player, but what it does do is it makes your experience on the ice 10 times better. And that's one thing that True has that no other manufacturer can really compete with, which is a big statement. From there, we're seeing a couple new upgrades with the skate, starting with the toe cap, which is the Carve toe cap. Now, this is very similar to the original toe cap we saw in the Cat 9s. Main difference is it kind of feels like it's just a little bit more angular, so it's a bit more almost triangular shaped at the top, if you know what I'm saying. This feels, the Cat 9's toe cap is much more rounded on the end. This just feels a lot more sleek, a lot more low profile, a lot more anatomical. So there is a little bit less space in there than what you would experience in the Cat 9s, but not in a negative way, just more kind of like tailored around the actual shape of a foot, which is great because it means that it's a little bit smaller than what we saw in the Cat 9's toe cap, not as bulky. So you're able to turn a lot tighter, you have a lot more freedom to move around on the ice, a bit more agility, bearing in mind your own levels, of course, but it's a sleeker toe cap that does help you to be able to move around on the ice much better. Now, when we look at the tongue was a massive, massive upgrade. I feel like what they've done with this tongue over here has addressed all of the issues we saw previously. It still has enough flexion to allow you to get a full range of motion in the skate, but the padding and the way that it's been constructed is much more significant, so you're not ever thinking about lace bite or any pressure at the front of your foot. It also isn't so thick that it reduces on the volume inside the skate, which being a true Catalyst skate, there is a very small amount of volume inside these skates compared to some of the other skates that we see. Now, I will mention that talking about the way that it fits, the thermoformable plastics that you get inside this skate and the carbon fiber shell itself, and also the foams which have thermoforming properties as well as the construction, there's just a lot going on with these skates. It means that when you bake the skates, True skates notoriously, straight out the box, it's very narrow. If you have quite a wide foot, of course they have different fits. You can go for a regular, a tapered, or a wide, but if you do go for a regular, which is what these are, it is still pretty restrictive around the top of the foot. But when you bake it, you can open the entire boot up. So if you want the eyelets to have a bit more space so you can get your foot in and out so the boot isn't really like wrapped over the top, you can open those up. When this boot becomes soft from being baked, it becomes so pliable and malleable that you can really adapt the shape of it to open or even close more based on what you like. So straight out the box, trying these on in a store doesn't do them justice because there are so many things that you can do to adapt the way this skate's gonna fit your foot once you get them into the oven and then put them on your foot and figure out where you want the skate to open up, where you want it to be more closed off and snug. No other skate allows you to have as much freedom to manipulate the boot structure to fit your feet perfectly as these skates over here. Another big deal about True skates that you always notice is how anatomical the shape of the boot is. Most hockey skates have a very basic shape of a foot until the skate's baked and then they adapt a bit better, but out the box, True hockey skates have an incredibly anatomical shape, and it's one of the reasons to why their skates perform so well and fit so fantastically. What we have over here is True's Dynamic Flex tendon. Now, flex being the objective word there, it is flexible, and when I'm on the ice, I don't feel like it's stiffer than what we saw in the Cat 9s, but in reality, if you're actually trying to manipulate the tendon yourself and push it back, it is 100% stiffer. Now, one thing I did notice with the Cat 9s is the more I used the skates, the more the tendon softened over time. Now, this is something that I had to think about for a minute, because if I was to expect the tendon to be very soft straight out of the box, I feel like after I've used the skates for about 6 months, the tendon might be too soft. I think what True have done here is they've given you quite a nice balance of, yep, the skate's going to be a bit stiff in the tendon area when you first step onto the ice, but the more you use it, the more you force the tendon to flex, you get a little bit more flexibility introduced to it. So that's something that I'm touching on. This isn't something I've gotten from True. It's what I've noticed with the Cat 9s, and it's what I very, very much suspect is going to happen with the new 9X4s, because the more I've been using these skates, the more the tendon has started to slightly relax and just give me a little bit more recoil and flexion, you could say. But overall, I do like the design of this tendon. I feel like the foams on this, although they look like they're similar pads in terms of like the padding of the actual foams on the back of the tendon, I feel like this one's just a little bit more comfortable. When we look at the structure of the boot versus the Cat 9s, True have also improved the layering to essentially help the skate's durability and also its impact resistance. Now, this isn't something that I particularly had an issue with the Cat 9s, but of course, like I said, these really do look like an elite level skate now, and I feel like improving the durability and also the impact resistance is going to help for those elite level players that are going to be absolutely abusing the life out of these skates. I think it's also worth mentioning that this again isn't coming from True, this is coming from my personal experience in both of these skates. These new Catalyst skates, the 9X4s, are slightly stiffer than the Catalyst 9s. Now, I'm not sure if this is a message that True is communicating themselves. They've not said anything to me about that. This is what I can feel physically when I'm squeezing the skate, and also what I've experienced on the ice. These feel significantly stiffer than what we saw in the Cat 9s, which as it stood, these were phenomenal. These skates are used and they are still incredibly stiff. So I feel like what they've done over here kind of goes hand in hand with what they've done by adapting the layering of the skate to improve the durability and impact resistance. That to me logically sounds like that's naturally going to make the boot structure slightly stiffer than what we saw previously. So that's why when you read the messaging that that's been done to improve the resistance, impact, durability, etc., it just naturally makes sense for you to expect a slightly stiffer skate construction, and that's exactly what we have here. Now, I've got to mention, I really do like the way True communicates the technology in their skates to consumers. They don't have 17 different names, tech names, different things that they have attached to the skate. It's so simple to be able to look through the different sort of features that they're advertising and understand them pretty quickly. And it makes my life so much easier making these videos because I don't have to retain so much information, making sure I remember all of the key technology names. It's very straightforward. Now, when we look inside the skate and we look at the liners, you've got the hydrofoam liners inside here. The hydrofoam essentially means that it's moisture wicking, moisture managing, so it's going to keep your feet dry. Now, aside from them looking incredibly cool from the previous ones in all honesty looked very standard. It looked from a skate that the liners didn't match the age of these skates. Let's just put it that way. This is a big upgrade in the way it looks on the outside and the way it looks inside. It looks futuristic as heck. It looks like something out of Tron, if you guys have seen that, or if you played the game when you were younger. That's showing my age a little bit there. But the liners inside here look sick. And aside from them being moisture wicking, they also have thermoformable foams, which work in tandem with the carbon fiber shell, which has those thermoformable plastics inside the structure of the shell. So these skates are so thermoreactive. When you bake them, nothing will fit like these skates unless you go custom. And as we said previously, there are custom skates out there that didn't fit as nicely as the Cat 9s, if you remember we said that in the review. We're not going to point fingers and tell you what custom skates those are. You guys can put two and two together yourselves. But these fit better than these do after you've baked them. Trying them on in a store, I'll say it again, without baking them doesn't do them justice. So bear that in mind. Now, in addition to those foams that are in there, they've also got some abrasive pads along the high wear areas of the inside of the liners of the skates, around the top two eyelets where your tongues kind of like flick back and forth as you're skating, which obviously wears into the liners. So they've added a bit more of a beefy material there to try and obviously extend the life of the liners themselves. Now, when we go inside the boot and we look at the footbed, which is something I never touch on unless it's something that makes sense, you have the Genetics footbed inside these skates. You didn't have the Genetics footbed inside the Cat 9s. You could purchase it separately, which we actually got from True, and they do a couple of things. I'm not going to tell you what they do based on what True advertises they do, because we know manufacturers can sometimes over-embellish on what their features of their skates actually do for you. Now, what the Genetics insoles felt when I had them in my skates is the first thing I noticed is I hate when my toes are brushing up against the toe cap. I know that's how a lot of people like to sell skates. When you're standing up, the toes should be just brushing the toe cap of the skates. When you bend your knees, they should pull back. I don't want my toes in contact with the toe cap at all. Now, without the Genetics insoles, my toes were against the toe cap, just barely. But when I put them on inside the boot and then put my feet back inside, it felt like it kind of like pulled my feet back just a little bit more. Now, aside from it really locking my foot in place and there was no slippage of my foot, because of how they're constructed and because of that gel pad in the middle, it kind of felt like it kind of cushioned my arch a little bit better than what I got in the standard footbeds inside the Cat 9s. Now, what you got with the Cat 9s was 3 different inserts for low arch, medium arch, high arch, so you could put these little inserts underneath the footbeds to support and cradle your arch. You don't need to do that with the Genetics insoles. I felt like, although I have a very high arch, it was completely comfortable inside there and my toes were no longer brushing up against the surface of the skate. Now, aside from this, I think I noticed the most difference with the normal footbeds and the Genetics footbeds was when I was on the ice for an extended period of time. Sometimes we're filming 4 hours, and it doesn't matter what pair of skates I'm in, after a certain amount of time, my feet do start to feel pressure in certain places at the bottom of my foot. Didn't get that with these. I felt like I'd just stepped onto the ice, which is a big, big deal if you've got tournaments, if you are on the ice a lot with training and then games on weekends. These really, really did work in tandem with the actual structure of the boot being so comfortable, worked in tandem with those insoles to really support my foot, alleviate pressure and sore spots to a point where being on the ice for 4 or 5 hours was a breeze. Now that's what I felt from the Genetics insoles. It'd be interesting to see if you guys feel similar, if you've used them in previous True skates before, but they're not a gimmick. I feel like they really do add a lot of performance and also comfort benefits to the skate. So overall, guys, I think you can tell that I'm incredibly impressed. It's one of those things where I'm happy to take a look at a skate and tell you how they're different and let you guys work out if the old pair is significantly worse because they've just changed so much on the new pair. So you have to go, yep, the new pair absolutely destroys these ones. And that doesn't happen very often, but in this case, it has. Now, me personally, if I had to choose between these skates and the FT6 Pros, I'm going with these. These were more comfortable, they fit my foot better, which I didn't think was possible past the FT6 Pros, and they also feel so much more connected and reactive on the ice. Now, do what you want with that information. Like I said, the only pair of skates that's comparable to these would be the XF Pros. Now, maybe we do a video of the XF Pros, even though the XF Pros are aimed at like a power skater and the Jet Speed line of skates, the FT6 Pros, is a more close match because this is agility skate, those are agility skates. It makes more sense to VS those against each other, but let me know what you want to see. I think so far, True have hit a home run with these. There is nothing I can critique. Even the tendon, I've explained why I think they've done what they've done. This is quite frankly almost a flawless skate, and I'm very, very impressed. So if you're trying to figure out if the Cat 9s are the ones that you should go for, or these, if everything I've covered in this video sounds like you need that, it's going to be these. These are significantly better than what we saw with the Cat 9s. And like I said, I would actually pick these over the FT6 Pros, which is wild to say. Would I pick them over the XF Pros? We'll have to save that for another day, but let me know in the comments what you think if I would do that. But comment down below, let me know what you want us to VS these against. There's not really much else other than the XF Pros that is even comparable. The shadows, these would absolutely destroy those. So let me know what you want to see, but hopefully I've given you all the information that you need about these skates. Comment down below if you want me to answer any questions or if there's anything you felt like I didn't cover. But thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one, and take care.